Hello, 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 beautiful ladies of Psychic Business Masterclass. Let me see if I can tag a couple of you in this video. If it's gonna let me do it, maybe not. It's all right, we're gonna get started right away. So welcome to the Psychic Business, which is a 4-day masterclass. We will have a Q&A at some point on the 26th. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to welcome you. I'm gonna get right into the training because we have a lot to talk about. I want to walk you through my journey with sales, which started back in high school. It's been a long while, and I've been through a lot of different sales environments and felt sales very differently, the energy of sales. And quite honestly, until I started this business, which is my business as a psychic coach, I really did not see myself continuing with sales at all, because a lot of these experiences were, if not negative, then almost outright traumatizing. So we have a lot to go through today. At the end of this training, I have some highlights. So I will be looking at notes every now and then because I want to cover all of these points because they're all very important. But if it feels good, you are definitely encouraged to take notes of your own and journal whatever feels right. If you just like to listen first and then kind of go over it, then some of the highlights will be towards the end, so that would be a good place to possibly anchor some of this information in if you think it's going to help you in your business or in your career. So as we get started, I do want to preface this training also and say that if you are considering having a business on the side, if that's not something that you're willing to do full time yet, or you're not even sure if it's for you, entrepreneurship can be often a pretty overwhelming experience because you're basically responsible for everything when you first get started. And I still, to this day, I don't have a team. Everything I do myself in my business, and sometimes I like it and sometimes it's difficult because that's a lot of different hats to wear at the same time. So I would encourage, if you haven't started a business yet and you're just kind of considering toying with the idea, listen to it as something that might become a full-time engagement for you, but also listen to it as possibly something that you can just do for yourself. And when we do something for ourselves, we want it to be fun. We want it to be enjoyable. We want to do it and approach it with like something that you look forward to doing, because if you have a full-time job or a different kind of line of work, then you're going to be using your free time to do this on the side. So it better be fun. It better be something that you truly enjoy. And I want to teach you how I got to the point of enjoying sales and what is the difference between the sales that feel like fun, sales that feel like something you enjoy, something that helps you expand your business, yes, but also something that you don't dread, right? And how different it felt so many times for me, which made me kind of wary of sales. So as we get started, like I said, the first part is we're just going to go over some of the experiences, summary, takeaway, highlights, points are going to be towards the end. So the first experience that I want to mention here is the very first time I remember selling anything was when I was in high school, and I moved to United States of America when I was 15. So it was like maybe my first or second year in high school, and I was part of the school newspaper. And the school was so big, actually, that the newspaper was actually like kind of like a real newspaper. I think it would get published like every week. And so I was given an assignment of like, oh, you wanna be in the newspaper? Well, you got to go sell some ads. And so I was like, I have no idea. And they basically gave me like a few addresses of local businesses and like a little brochure to go and basically say, hey, do you want to advertise in a school newspaper and support our newspaper and promote your business? And my English was pretty bad at that time still, so I was kind of nervous about it. But I went and I did it, and I think every single business that I visited said yes. The ad was really cheap, And it was for a school, so I feel like some of them maybe felt bad if they would say no, because it's like a local school. So it was a weird experience. I will say, I was like, is that what selling is? You just kind of, go and, it's just like people are like, okay, I'll do it. I didn't really get it. I didn't understand it. And so that was my very first experience. So I didn't really learn much from it. But then at that point, also kind of going and looking for a job, when I went to tech school, I thought, maybe I would like to do sales. Maybe I would like to like sell things, so what things though? So I'm looking for a job. I was like, there's one thing that I really love, and it's these beautiful, they had this beautiful store in downtown Charleston, which is not where I lived, but it was like kind of close to where I lived. And I would walk by with my mom sometimes, just like walking around in downtown area. And I would see all these like beautiful prom dresses and ball gowns and just cocktail party dresses. And they were so beautiful and so expensive. And I was like, ooh, I would love to be surrounded by these dresses all day. So I was like, okay, I'll go and try to get a job there. It didn't happen from the first try, but I kind of got smarter. So they had 2 locations. So I applied in both, and I was like pretty confident. I was like, I really know I'm going to enjoy working here. I think I'm going to do a good job. So my second sales experience was selling beautiful dresses. And I will be honest with you and say that by far, this has been my favorite sales experiences in terms of being an employee for other people, because I did actually believe in the product. And this is going to be part of our highlights. So this is one of the greatest lessons that I got early. And because it was so early in my sales journey, I kind of forgot about it later on. So if you're taking notes or writing things down or just kind of making highlights in your mind, highlight number 1 is you want to believe in what it is that you're selling. And I experienced the other side of it. We're going to talk about this later in this masterclass, but in today's training. But that first experience, really loving the dresses. I was such a big fan of the company because of all the beautiful dresses that they sold, and I was just like really into dresses, still am to this day, but it was such a joy to work in the store. It was a beautiful store. I really cared about the company. I really cared about the clients. The environment was a little catty because it was just like basically female employees, and it wasn't superficial, but it was kind of, it was designed, the sales process was designed to be a little competitive. So I think there would be sometimes a little extra drama where maybe in a different type of job it wouldn't happen. But it was so much fun. And something that I remember from that experience, and I want to really go into depth in detail here, is that working in that clothing store, in that boutique, I really loved a very specific aspect of it. I think like more than anything else. So I was kind of taught to approach clients as they would come in and be like, hey, do you need any help shopping? And I would do so, but I would try to be like non-invasive, because I really personally don't like when someone kind of stalks me around the store. I don't like feeling watched myself. So I was like, I'm not really going to do that. So I would just kind of gently introduce myself. But then when I would see the client maybe looking at a dress or like kind of looking at an area of dresses, right? I would use it as an opportunity to say, hey, I see you're looking at cocktail dresses, or I see you're looking at our new green and whatever snakeskin collection, right? And I was such a big fan of the product myself that I learned and memorized the fit of all the clothing sizes. So, and it's something I think that was like kind of part of my maybe psychic abilities, that was just, I would never call it that, but I couldn't quite explain it because I knew the sizes so well. Just by looking at a person, I was able to tell which size would fit them the best. And sometimes it surprised the clients. Like they're like, that's not the size I usually get. And I would just be like, hey, try this on. And then they would walk out. And it would be just such an experience, because they'd be like, oh, this fits. This is so beautiful. Like, wow, I did not expect for this to look like this. And I would just be like, yes, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. Like, look in this mirror, look in this mirror, do a little catwalk. Like, yes, you know, I would play, like we had music playing. I would switch it up to something a little more dancey. And it was, so here's really the highlight of what I'm talking about right now, is that I wasn't trying to sell anything. You know, I had a certain quota, right? We would get rewarded after an X amount of sales made for whatever, a certain amount of time. And we were taught to like upsell, like when a person's getting this thing, suggest jewelry, so like all of these things I kept in the back of my mind. But when a client was actually trying things on and I was like coming up with things for them to try on, I remember this very clearly. I was not selling. I wasn't like, oh, she's going to buy this and she's going to buy that. And, you know, it just didn't cross my mind, probably because I loved the dresses so much. I genuinely enjoyed the client's process of discovery of how an item fits or what options there are. And I was very successful in this business. I was one of the top sellers in the area. And not even that was something of notice, but also I was so invested in the company, in the brand, in the products, that I went as far as like I reached out to the CEO one time and like wrote the suggestion about their YouTube channel. I invested into the company's stock. Unfortunately, the company did go bankrupt, and they're gone now. They don't exist anymore. But before they did, I invested into their stock, and I just had a feeling that it's gonna go up. And because I knew the company so well, I knew they were about to introduce some things, and there were some excitements happening, like prom season, things like that. And I actually doubled my investment. That's the only my only experience investing into stock really to this day. I was like 19 years old. Why is this relevant to sales at all? It's relevant because the level of personal investment into that product, into that company, was something that made me really see myself as a part of that company. And I saw myself as a face for these products because I knew the sizing, I knew the fit, I knew the materials, I knew, like, I was living that experience very much so. So it almost was like my own business in a way to me, in my own mind. But the level of care and the level of believing in the product. And also another highlight here is not trying to sell, because I knew that my job was to help the customer see, like, what is the fit, what is the style, you know, what is the color. I didn't see their decision to purchase as something that I'm necessarily responsible for. It's like either something they do or they don't. It's more about them investing in themselves, right? By buying this dress, they're buying this look on them. They're not buying me, my look. How this dress looks on me, they don't care. They care about themselves. So my job is to help them see that vision of themselves that maybe drew them into a store, that made them go like, oh, I wonder if any of these clothes might, you know, be a good fit for me. So that was a huge lesson that I didn't really appreciate until later on, because I've seen some very radically opposite experiences following that. Okay, I'm gonna take a little breather here. I do have a comment. You have me wanting to buy a new dress, right? Exactly. You don't even know what company it is, right? Because it doesn't even exist anymore. So, but yes, that's exactly the point, because it was like such an incredible experience that we shared. It was fun. It was the journey. So that was like by far one of the best sales experiences working for other companies in my whole life. Now, I've had some bad ones working for other people. I had some bad ones working for myself, because one of the businesses I created was not a good one. So it was a good idea, but it wasn't really good when it came to execution. So we're gonna get into all of these. So next on my sales experiences list is, after that job, I went to a traditional 4-year university. So I was in tech school while also having this job. And then I graduated from the tech school and I decided to go to the 4-year university. after the first year of which I promptly dropped out, and I still think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, because honestly, that specific the specific way that I had that experience and the way that I think I was treated as a student there was not something that is up to my standards, and I think if I would have endured and stayed because I should, I would have lost a significant piece of myself and my dignity, honestly. But that's not what we're talking about today. So what we're talking about, what happened after that. So after I dropped out of the 4-year university with a tech degree and having incompleted my bachelor's degree, I had this opportunity to spend a few months back where I was born in Russia with my grandmother, and it was just kind of like an empty summer to just like, hey, figure out what you're gonna do now that you've dropped out, basically. So I had, as like basically, I think it was 2 or 3 days after I dropped out, from the jolt and the shock of like, I just did that. Like I just changed everything for myself by making that decision. And I think the confidence, like, yeah, no, I'm not putting up with this anymore. You know, this is not for me. I'm going to do something different. I was in school for business. So I was like, you know what, if I can't really learn business in school, maybe it's time to focus on learning by doing, right? So instead of like books, just like actually try to be in business or do something like that. And from that, like, what just happened? I'm no longer in school. I had this incredibly wild idea where I was like, you know, if I'm going to Russia for a couple months, why don't I start a business? Why don't I just start my own business? And the idea was to do a course for not to teach English, but to prepare students, or not students, but people in Russia who are looking to either study or work in the United States or like Great Britain, UK, or any other English-speaking country. There is this test called TOEFL, spelled TOEFL. And I had to take it myself when I first came to the United States, just to kind of determine my level of language proficiency. So that's something you often have to pass in order to get into like a university or to get a job in an English-speaking country. And I had this, it was a pretty smart idea. I'm still kind of impressed by it to this day, because I was like, okay, well, first of all, I'm not really teaching language because I'm not really certified to teach language. Like you got to actually have some kind of backing to do that, I think. So I'm not really teaching language. I'm not really working with kids or young students. I'm working with professionals or people who are like seeking higher degree, and who probably are financially able to afford something like this. Because if you're looking to move to an English-speaking country, it requires some funding. So including attending a university, things like that. So I was like, okay, that's something that I can pull together, I think. So I had no education specifically for that. I had no legal registration for a business whatsoever. And so what did I do? So I put together like a plan for the course. I have taken the test myself before, so I knew how it worked. I also knew that it was very systematic, and it was like once you understand the structure, you can study and prepare and actually do really well. And you do have to know the language, but you also have to know how the test kind of works. So, and what it like gives you points for. So I got some materials. I put together a course plan, and I put out an announcement on social media. I didn't have that big of a following, but I think one of the key like takeaways and highlights here was that I was so bold. Like I was just so confident. I just dropped out of college. I was like, what can be scarier than that? So what if no one signs up? You know, I'm still going to be in Russia. Like if no one buys this course, nothing bad's going to happen necessarily. I'm just not going to be successful in this first business attempt. So things aligned. And one of my friends who was a pretty established blogger and a writer, like she was like a published journalist as well. I've met with her several times, and we became pretty good friends. And she asked me one time, like, if you ever need any help with anything, just let me know. She was a little older than me and definitely much more far along in her career. And I kind of kept that favor, if you know what I mean. I never really, I was like, I have no clue what she could possibly do for me, but that's nice. I was like, yeah, it's good to know. Thank you. And until that day, and I was like, I have that favor that she said she'll, if I ever need any help. So I was like, why don't I just try? You know, the worst thing that can happen, she's gonna say no. So I wrote to her and I said, hey, you know, I'm starting this course. I'm gonna be in Russia for a certain amount of month, and here's how much I would charge. I charged a lot, especially for Russia. Like, it was $1,000 for 6 weeks. I think I did, and every week we would meet. Some materials, a test. I purchased them like a test where you can like practice test basically. So everything was set up, but you know, it was a pretty steep price. And I told her, you know, would you mind publishing this on your blog? And she said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And it was a huge favor, because along with my publications and announcements and some posts that I created in communities, also her post brought in a lot of attention, and I think some people shared it. It was on the blogging platform. It was really kind of not social media thing, really, but a pretty dense network of Russian bloggers. And so what happened is I got a lot of people saying they're interested, and I didn't really tell the price in the announcements. And when I would tell people the price, they would be like, I'm not doing that. That's too expensive. I can't afford that. But interestingly enough, once again, I was like, you know what? If I get no students, it's not a project that worked, right? But if I do get a student, even just one, I want to charge this much. Like, I don't want to do this work for anything less. And ironically, that was one of the most powerful lessons that I've had in sales to this day. That later, again, was kind of challenged and tested, and I looked at it a very different way. But in that first entrepreneurial experience, you know, the courage to just ask the price that you actually want to charge. And what happened was, I got 3 students that registered, and they came from different, a variety of these like posts, blog posts and things. But, you know, it was like an easy yes. You know, it wasn't someone who was like, hey, can you justify, you know, why you charge this much or anything. It was just like, yeah, sure, here's the money. And I was shocked. And I was terrified. I'm like, I just sold a thing that I've never done before as a college dropout in Russia, where I'm going to be for a couple of months. I've never taught anyone, and they just paid me. So I guess it's happening. And it was really terrifying, because I was like, what if they hate it? What if they don't like it? What if they ask for a refund? But none of that happened. Basically, everyone was really satisfied, and it was harder with some students because everyone's level of English proficiency was different. But some were a little more better with like figuring out the structure of the test. And even though their English was like so-so, they were like, they knew where to practice to be really good at the test. And some were really good with language and like not really caring about the test. And it was just like, okay, we gotta focus on getting points here. You know, you might be you might do really well at speaking, but you gotta make sure that you're getting the correct answers, things like that. So it was a fascinating journey. I learned so much. It freaked me out. I made more money than I ever have. And it was basically my first business attempt, but it was a pretty successful one. I've never done it again. And that experience was just like pure confidence. It was just like, I just dropped out of college. I had the guts to do it, and it was scary, but what can be scarier? Let me just try, you know, running a business. And I honestly, I had a little bit of that kind of prove it, like energy, because I was like, I was going for a degree in business, and I did not appreciate how I was treated as a student in that university. So let me drop out and start a business. Like, I don't need a degree for that. So it was fascinating. So this was a really good experience. The previous one was really good. And that's about where my good experiences with sales ended. Because after I came back from that summer. I was trying to move to a different city than the one where my parents lived. And my friend was there. Several of my friends were in that city. And I was like, I want to live here. I want to get an apartment. And I was basically kind of looking for jobs. But not very, I was still like, I'll maybe start a business doing I don't know what. And maybe I'll get a job. But it was just like, I didn't really have much time. And, basically it would have to either be a job I get where my parents live, or I need to find something quickly so I can move. So I found a job that was not a job, but I didn't understand that at first. It was a commission only sales, life insurance sales rep type employment, which, let me explain if you don't know what that means. I didn't know what it meant either. I thought it was like a real full-time job, but it was like, no. Basically, you don't get paid anything unless you make a sale, and you make commissions on your sales. But in life insurance, the thing is, so for example, you sold some life insurance and everything went through, but then they go and they check the background check or do something like that on the potential person who is buying the insurance, and they find that they're uninsurable or something's off, your commission gets taken out. Because at first it seemed like you got it, and then they didn't go through, so the money gets taken away from you. Because now you didn't have a sale. Okay, without getting into too many complexities of this, I didn't realize it. I didn't realize there was no base salary. And I was really excited. I'm like, oh, it's sales and it's insurance. And I got my insurance license. It's something you have to kind of study for. So I got that, paid for it myself. They said they would refund the whatever $200 it takes to get whatever tested or something. And never did. But that's not even the worst of it. So, basically it hit me as I started, going to the office and getting trained on these types of sales. It hit me like, oh my God, I'm in a very shady place. Because first of all, it was in some kind of a half-abandoned mall. Second, the people that work there, I'm going to say, without sounding judgy, but it was a pretty rough crowd. Rough meaning some pretty strange individuals. And I was like, what are we doing here? So they're like, yeah, so we give you these lists of numbers and you call, and when you get a person on the phone, you convince them basically to let you come see them at their house under false pretenses. Oh, I'm delivering the child safe kit, or what was it? Some free $1,000 in life insurance that is basically impossible to get, because the way you have to die to cash in, or whoever would be cashing in that $1,000, you have to die in a very specific kind of way. I know even talking about this is giving me creeps, but hey, I lived that experience. So you know what I did? I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna prove to myself that I can sell no matter what. I'm just going to be great at sales, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to figure out how. So I lasted 3 months, just to let you know. Barely lasted 3 months, but it was pretty horrifying. So first of all, getting a person on the phone and inviting yourself into their house under false pretenses feels like, for me, it felt like I want to shoot myself, because it's just so cringe. If someone did that to me, I kept thinking the entire time, if someone did that to me, I would be so annoyed. I would be angry. I would probably call the police. But, I was like, I'll figure it out. So I would call people, get the appointment. It was very difficult. Then sometimes you would drive to the middle of nowhere. And they're not home because they know you're coming, so they're trying to avoid the awkward conversation, and they couldn't tell over the phone. All of that requires pressure. Some of these areas that I drove to were outright unsafe, and you know, I once asked, like, how do you guys get all these phone numbers? And they were like, oh, you know, it's like basically just like these, we just buy those lists. So like no one signed up for any of it. You would have to sell them death, literally, because after you delivered whatever crappy little freebie that you had, that was really worthless, completely worthless, I would pull up a laptop, right, and just be like, hey, I just have a little presentation for you, and, you know, go into this like video of like how we're all gonna die and how it's inevitable and one day you're gonna die, so you should buy life insurance. It was horrible. I hated that video. I was like, the entire time I'm sitting there like going like, what am I doing here? Why am I this person? What is wrong with me? And basically, at the very end, even if they didn't buy anything, you would pressure them in order for them to get rid of you and for you to get out of their house. You would pressure them to give you the contacts of their closest people in their family as leads, you know, so you can call more people the next day and do the same thing. It was cringe the entire time. And I lasted way too long there. I should have left like that first day. I should have lived with my parents and like for a while longer, because or gotten the job there and moved. It was not a good decision, because after my positive experiences with selling, including the boutique, including the course that I came up with, this ruined sales for me. Because after doing this for a while, I started seeing myself as like this creepy person. Like, that's what I do. That's what I do. You know, I call people I don't know. I get into their houses under false pretenses. I'm selling them death. I'm selling them something I would never purchase. I'm pressuring them to do all these uncomfortable conversations with me and give out information of like people in their family. Like, sounds criminal, doesn't it? But because I lasted for 3 months and I kept trying to like figure it out, I started seeing myself as that like sleazy, creepy person. And it took a while to heal. And what didn't help is that like the next major job that I've had after that felt like a huge shift upwards, because I went from this like very creepy, very, very kind of weird. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it was a pyramid scheme. So like as soon as you would start working there, they would like try to immediately promote you to manager. And then as a manager, you are responsible for recruiting more people, because so many people leave because it's such a creepy occupation. So not only was it creepy, but it was also a very much definitely a pyramid scheme. So after that, I was really traumatized. Maddie, it's all right. There's going to be replay. So just remember what time in the video we're about 36 minutes in. So you would start at the, go until the 36 mark on replay. So, but no, we're like in the middle of conference. There's plenty more. So, Lauren says it's so awful. Yeah, I'm getting bad vibes just honestly talking about it, but it's very important to talk about, because these types of things happen. And these types of experiences happen where you're not necessarily being the salesperson, but you're being sold to like that. And you get this like, it also ruins the way that you see sales, because you're like, that's what sales means. If that's what sales means, I don't ever want to do that, right? So that's how I felt. And so the next job that I had was like a huge step up, because I started working for a local, I'm not going to name the name, but it's like a very big a local newspaper where I used to live. And it was part of a huge national corporation that was like running a bunch of newspapers all over America. And it felt like I hit the jackpot, because I was like, this is finally a real job where I actually have salary. And I did have sales experience, some of it really bad, but some of it pretty good. So they gave me a job, which I was like kind of young for it, I guess. And I didn't have the degree that most people had, but I was just like really like, hungry for it, I guess. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I sold myself. So that was pretty convincing, I guess. So they gave me a job, and I was a sales representative for advertising. Basically, advertising in a newspaper, advertising on their website, the newspaper's website, advertising on their social channels, and they came up, like, there are a few special publications, such as like a bridal magazine, things like that, a weekly like entertainment guide. So you get the idea. I was selling ads, but it felt legitimate. It's a huge established company, and I was really excited. So I was like, finally, people are gonna take me seriously. I'm not doing anything shady. So first, like half a year of it, I was kind of learning the ropes. Again, I had to go into a business and basically find out their weaknesses. So it's definitely not as creepy as showing up at someone's home under false pretenses and forcing them to face death, and buy something from that place. Definitely a step up from that. But still, I'm going to a small local business, and I'm like, hey, I'm Katerina from whatever, and here's my business card. And I was just in the neighborhood, just totally random. Like, of course it's a sales pitch, obviously, but I was just in the neighborhood, and, I just wanted to talk about your business. Seems like pretty empty. Is it usually that empty? And it's like, okay. Or like, what do you guys have? I checked on Facebook. You're supposed to do a little bit of research. I checked on Facebook. I don't see your page there. Do you have a Facebook page? That's something that we do. Or like, we have this major coverage coming out next week, and you might want to get your business in front of hundreds of thousands of readers. Completely made up numbers, as I later found out. So there's still some pressure in that kind of sale, but I guess it's more B2B. So like as a business, you would be expected to want to grow your business. So I guess it's not as creepy, but it's still, I did not like that. I hated doing that. I hated going into a business and like finding a way to work myself into whatever they got going on, or make them feel like they're not succeeding because they need to buy marketing, And that was kind of like, we were taught this tool where like you draw a circle and you're like, how many percentage of your customers what's the percentage of your customers that come from here? And what's the percentage that comes from, okay. And here's this huge piece of the pie that you're not tapping into. We got the key. So lots of like sneaky little things like that, but it was a step up for sure. But the first year was great, and actually got to work with some customers that were already established. So that means I just had to service them, and I found some new customers, and it was really good. Until there was a huge change in the company, and I think some stuff was getting exposed. And I got reassigned, and I was really excited because they made it seem like a promotion. And my boss, when he was giving me this new contract, his hand was like shaking like this. I was like, I found that so odd. I was like, that's a weird, I've never seen that happen with him before. So they definitely did something. It was a sneaky move. It seemed like a promotion, but it was actually a demotion. And I thought it was a upward shift in my salary, but they cut out all of basically my commissions. Without getting into too many details, it was not a good deal for me, and they made it seem like it was. They made it seem like it was not what it was going to be, and I was really I felt really betrayed. But how does that relate to sales? Well, the problem is, I really believed in marketing. I believed in these ads that I was selling. But because of these shifts and moves and the stuff going on in that corporation, I suddenly started seeing how all of the numbers were like pulled out of air. How the number of people who are reading the paper and the number of people who are on the website and the number of whatever, all of that was made up, basically. How I was given this publication to sell ads for. I was really excited. It was called Carolina Bride. It's like a bridal magazine. I was like, oh, bridal magazine, that means, you know, dresses. Here I go with dresses again. And other things like cakes and event planners. And I was like really excited to work with these types of businesses. And then you know, I was telling them, oh, that's how many people receive this magazine, how many people see it on the website, only to realize that the magazine does not get distributed at all. Like, it basically sits in some kind of warehouse, and that the website doesn't even exist. So I was selling ads that were basically a scam because they never got published. And all the numbers were not true. So people were buying air. And I was really upset. And the biggest, I'm getting like chills just talking about it. The biggest pain point towards sales in this case was that I was like, I'm not a good person. Like, I didn't know this, but I was selling people a scam. So at least with the life insurance, I knew like I hated it. And at least that was clear, you know. But here I really believed in something, only to find out that it was a scam. And I was selling it. And so I felt like I got some really bad karma. Like, whether it's true or not is not the question here. I felt like I cheated a lot of people. Small businesses. Like, I care about small businesses so much. Both of my parents are small business owners. Like, it's just, to me, that's the American dream. But, you know, I love small business. I wanted to run a small business one day. Maybe a big one, but start small, right? But, I realized that's who I cheated out of their money. Like, and I couldn't really say anything because I still work for the company. And so my boss started seeing that I was kind of, things were clicking in for me. And he started like using some really shady tactics to like gaslight me and put me against other workers so I wouldn't have anyone to talk to. When I talked to like the HR went and told him, which is like completely unprofessional. So anyway, that whole thing went up in smokes. A lot of people got let go of, and I'm not even sure how the company's doing. It just seems like it's, if not completely extinct, it's getting there, for many different reasons. But after that ended, I was, and I talk about this in a lot of my master classes on my YouTube channel, but, you know, I was amidst the dark night of the soul because the job ended, I was in a car accident, other things happened, really kind of traumatic events. And the mood that I was in was like, I'm not a good person. And the biggest reason for that feeling that I had about myself was that job, because I was so shocked by what I discovered. And so hurt by my role in it. And even though I didn't know, I still felt like I should have. And I should have not done it somehow. Like, I should have known, and I should have never, you know, whatever. I didn't know what to do. So I decided to start my own business. Finally, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, and here's the thing. I'm gonna fix it, I thought I was gonna fix it. I'm gonna make good on all these businesses that I hurt, because I'm gonna create something that actually works, and I'm going to, you know, go and I'm going to create marketing campaigns online that actually work. I'm gonna charge as little as I possibly can, because the company I worked for that sold all these scammy ads that never saw the light of day, they charged a lot. And they, obviously they had, you know, all these people to pay in the corporation, but yeah, I'm guessing the profit margin was pretty high on those. So I was like, I'm gonna charge as low as I possibly can. I'm gonna make it right. I'm gonna pay myself as little as possible. I'm going to make amends. I'm going to fix this. So, and here's where later in life I realized that was a huge mistake, because selling from a place of trying to fix something, whether you're trying to fix something you did or you're trying to fix something that doesn't work, for me, it doesn't work. It's not effective, because you're already focused on the problem. So my problem was, you know, I feel like a bad person because I contributed to these scams, and I gotta fix it. I gotta, I've gotta redeem myself. But it's the game I'm running in my head. No one else really thinks that. But how do you redeem yourself, through other people, through other businesses? You can't. It's a mindset thing. So coming from that place, I did charge as little as possible. I could not afford to pay my bills. I did a lot of free work that no one needed. I felt so bad about myself and like what I sold before that I would try to convince people to hire me for free. And like, it would be so awkward because it would come to a point where someone would be like, well, how much do you charge? I would love to work with you. And I'd be like, no, it's it's fine. And they're like, what do you mean fine? Like, how is that a business? I'm like, yeah, I'm just, getting started. Highly do not recommend. No matter whether you're starting or not starting, wherever you are, if you find yourself looking for free work or convincing people to hire you for free, you got to work it out with yourself, because that's not a business, and that's very unhealthy, okay, for self-worth. So I was on that journey of redeeming myself for a few years, and I think that's the only reason I was trying to still do marketing, is not because I really enjoyed it, but honestly, I was I felt so bad about the marketing that I sold that wasn't even there, that I was trying to come up with something better, do it cheaper, do it better, work for free wherever I can and help these small businesses. And it was soul sucking. I didn't really enjoy that work. And needless to say, I was not making a profit. I had a year that I like to mention quite a bit, where for the entire year I had generated $7,000. If you do the math, that's about, that's less than $1,000 a month. That's about $650 a month. Just imagine, and it depends on where you live, but then in the US, that wouldn't even cover my rent. So I had a lot of other odd jobs. I was constantly borrowing money. It was really, really hard time. But that's the business I was in, is trying to make up for whatever I did before that, was not really even my fault. It was the company, but I felt so responsible and so guilty. And so that brought me zero joy. I hated sales. I would tell people I don't charge anything, Whenever I did manage to sell something, I had this crippling doubt of well, God forbid this ad doesn't work. So sometimes I would get into such a state of fear and paranoia that I wouldn't even be able to get started on putting together a campaign, even though I was perfectly capable of it. And I would sometimes just refund the money, be like, I can't do it. It was really hard. So I'm not gonna lie. So I did that for 4 years. I stayed in this line of business for 4 years. Not profitably so, but in the meanwhile, and we're gonna talk about this tomorrow, I built my social media skills, not only through these ads and ad campaigns, which I don't really actually run ads in my business, although I could. But I built this posting ability, seeing what people respond to. I started doing live videos. Everyone was like, why are you doing those? You're not even talking about marketing. What are you selling? Or I'm like, I'm not selling anything. I'm just practicing. I want to figure out how this works. So in that time, I also developed my tarot practice that I kept under the covers. I wouldn't tell anyone about it, or I would mention it as a philosophical topic, without really saying I'm a tarot reader. I definitely did not charge for that, and it was just kind of a big secret, but that was my only resort, my only refuge, because I was so miserable and I was so struggling in life, in business, in sales, that I just constantly sought these answers from within. So I would always every day get through the day somehow, and then wait for the moment where I could pull out my cards and see what's actually happening in the background, see what's the wisdom, what's the truth, what can I learn. So very unfortunate sales experience. Now So we're getting to the good part. We're getting to some important highlights. This is getting closer to the end of the masterclass. I just wanted to give you a little heads up. So what happened then was that I had a conversation with a friend one time, and it was like right before the pandemic. And I was telling her how miserable I am and how I haven't been making money basically for the past 4 years, how I'm constantly borrowing money. Like, I'm just so stressed out. I don't like what I'm doing. I hate my job that I created for myself. And suddenly she said something so shocking that just like blew me away. She said to me, "You are your own boss. Only you can fire yourself." And I was like, whoa. Like, yeah, actually, I need to do that. I need to fire myself right now. Like, this, I can't do this anymore. But I still have the employee mentality where I'm looking for someone to give me permission to like quit or fire me, but I'm the boss, so I gotta do that. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is it. This is the sign from the universe. It's over. It's done. It's not working anyway. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, yeah, no one needs, like, small businesses in town do not need marketing right now. It's just a completely different set of needs. So I was like, you know what? I fire myself. I quit. This is not the business for me. I'm no longer doing it. And so I felt like, just like when I fired myself from college, when I quit college and I had this business idea, right? I felt in a very similar way. I was like, I just fired myself from my own business. Wow, that's powerful. Like, I'm no longer pretending to do this marketing. And what am I going to do now? Am I going to find a job? Am I going to do something else? And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go live and pull cards. Like, that same night, like, all these 4 years I was reading the cards, doing live videos unrelated to cards, like, never crossed my mind. And here in like one moment, this like, oh, okay, I'm totally free. Let me see if I can do this, right? So I went live and I did like a PayPal, Venmo, whatever, Cash App links so that people could send me donations if they enjoyed their reading. And I started getting donations that were bigger than all the checks that I've received in my actual business doing something like marketing, right? It blew me away. I was like, I was sure that wouldn't work almost, which is why I like decided to just try it, right? But in reality, it was working better than what I thought was normal or what I thought, I should do. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is going to be my new business. Like, this is the only thing that I really care about are these cards, these readings, my abilities, my spiritual journey, my personal growth journey. So I was like, I'm going to be a professional tarot reader. And after a while of doing just readings, I realized that I'm very interested in the direction of private coaching and coaching industry, and using my skills, with a certain divination tools and other tools, as well as my psychic abilities, as well as my affinity for like teaching and talking with people, sharing with people, guiding others. I was like, this is the place for me. This is the industry for me. So sales have become something that I truly love. But I will tell you this, and we're about to get into highlights. First of all, I believe in what I do, okay? Because this is who I am. Like, I'm selling who I am. I do who I am for a living. So the belief is there. There is a downside to this, however, is that when I am struggling on my own personal journey or personal development journey, in my own spirituality, which has happened before, I don't sell. So this is something that some coaches, I have seen some different opinions around that. And I think that's wonderful. I love seeing how different people and different professionals that I like to learn from have a very different perspective on this. Here's mine. You're here for a reason. You want to learn from me. Here's my perspective. I had so many bad experiences selling what I don't believe in. Selling stuff that was cringe or like outright a scam. Sometimes knowing it, like with the life insurance. sometimes not knowing it, like with those corporate ad sales. And one thing that I don't ever want to happen, ever, is to sell myself when I don't believe in myself, because I think that would really damage me in more ways than, are just like, that's like whatever, things happen. Like, no, it's not like that. So I have to be in a really aligned place to sell. So, and we're about to get into, again, like I said, some important highlights, but I want you to realize this difference, because I worked with coaches who teach that you sell no matter what. And it's true that clients will come in and buy from you when they're in alignment with you. And that has happened when I felt off, when I wasn't really even selling anything, but someone was a match to me still. But the difference is I don't sell from a place of where I don't believe, either in myself or in how I'm feeling at the moment, or whatever it is that is just not in alignment, not the energy I would want to call a new person into. I don't sell from that place. And so you'll see sometimes, if you pay attention to my social media, that there are times where I'm sharing some life experiences, I'm sharing some lessons, but I'm not actively selling anything. And that's because I'm not in a place to sell. And to me, that's very sacred. I don't want to sell for the sake of selling. And I will tell you, selling for the sake of selling doesn't work. We're about to get into it. So selling myself, selling what I love, doing what I love, selling like energy of me, working with me, my wisdom, my knowledge, my tools, is what made sales so powerful and fun and beautiful and amazing for me. Being in business for yourself, doing what you love and believing in what you do makes sales sacred, because that's how you get to introduce to people ways in which they can work with you. And there's nothing more powerful than that. But if you ask me, if you want to learn from me, I would say don't sell when you don't believe in yourself or what it is that you're selling, or you're just having like whatever energy that you're in is not the energy you would want to invite a client into. And the way to test it is like, okay, if I was my own mentor, right? And that's how I was feeling. Would I want to walk into that kind of energy? Would I want to start working with someone in that kind of energy? And if the answer is no, then just wait it out, So this is why, also for those of you just starting out or considering starting a business, there's absolutely nothing wrong with starting a business while also having a job, because that puts that pressure off, where you don't have to sell when you're not in alignment, where you can still have some income coming in without putting the pressure on your business to always sell, even when you don't feel like it. Because in my experiences, selling what you don't believe in and selling when you don't think it's a good thing can really do more damage than is worth it. That's just my opinion. But it's also my experience. So let's get into the highlights. I have a couple that I already almost went into, but I want to go in order. So first is you have to believe in what you're selling. If you're taking notes, now is a good time to take notes. You have to believe in what it is that you're selling, which makes being in business for yourself amazing, because it is what you love. It is who you are. It is what you do. It is the product that you lovingly designed, right? It is the service that you like. It's if it's like coaching, something like coaching, or something like consulting, like it's your experience, it's your skills, your knowledge, your wisdom, your life, the journey of your life, your lessons. Like there is nothing that you can believe in more than that, because that's actually you. There's nothing more genuine, more authentic than that, right? Yourself. So, however, when you're not feeling it, when you're in a bad place, when you don't believe in what you're selling, when you're not sure, I would say create a space for it to happen where you don't have to force yourself to sell, because that can ruin the way you see your business and yourself, the way that you understand your own authority. And I've lived with that shame and guilt for too long, the years, that I was trying to make up for all these scams that I sold. You know, there's nothing worse in the world of business than feeling like that. So don't create situations where you would push yourself and sell something you don't 100% believe in. Because some people, I guess, just get over it. But to me, if you really care, if you're an empath, if you're an intuitive, which is why you're probably here, don't go there. It's not worth it. It takes way longer and much more. It costs much more to heal that than to not do that. Okay, if possible. Again, sometimes you don't know, like I didn't, but when you can help it, when it's your own business, don't do it. Okay, I'm just gonna stop there. That's the highlight. Okay, that's the biggest one. Now, second highlight, take your okay, sorry about that. Take your ego out of the equation. What I mean by this is, if you remember my share about the clothing store, it's not your responsibility for this. Like, you're not responsible for the sale. You don't decide whether the person buys or not. And a lot of outdated old paradigm sales tactics teach like, no, you gotta convert, you gotta high pressure people, you it's your responsibility if you close the client or you didn't. And I'm sure you've been in a transaction like that, where someone was feeling like that about you, like it was their life purpose to make sure you bought something that you didn't even need. If you don't like feeling like that, then you have to untangle that and realize it is not your responsibility to make sure the person closes or converts or buys something, right? It's not. It's their decision. So you have to treat them like someone who is capable of making their own decision. And so what I mean by taking your ego out of equation is whether they buy or not, don't take it personally. It's not about you. Whenever I'm brought back to this kind of like conversation within myself, I try to look at it from the perspective of, okay, just like in my experience with these dresses, you know, what is it that made these dress shopping experiences so magical? Is that I didn't really care if they bought anything. Is I was there and I was making sure they had as much fun with the dresses as was possible. I wanted them to have fun because I had fun with these same dresses. I had fun working there. I wanted them to be part of that experience. And I wanted to play dress up with other women. Like that's the thing. Like they get to try dresses. I get to bring them more dresses. We get to like walk around in all the dresses, you know, and that's your responsibility. Your responsibility is to make the customer experience, the experience of shopping with you, excellent, fun, exciting. Something like playing dress up, right? It's your job to demonstrate what it is that you're selling, to make it very clear, to explain exactly what it does, right? Or exactly what's in it for them, for them to try it on and see if it fits. But it's not your responsibility to make sure that they buy or not. In fact, that has nothing to do with you. It is your job to be present. It is not your job to close. And if you treat people like you can push them around into buying, they're not going to like shopping with you. That's not the vibe. But if you treat them like they have all the sovereignty in the world to make their own decision, and you're not like saying, you know, you're not making all these assumptions. You're not saying like a customer walks in like, she can't afford those dresses. Like, I'm not even going to show her the dresses, right? Or you're not treating someone like, this is Mr. Moneybags. Like they have the money to spend. So let me make sure I put some extra pressure on them because they can. Don't make assumptions about people. That's also like this ego, like trying to figure out who's going to buy or not before there's even a conversation. Don't do that, because the way to go is to treat everyone like they can afford anything, everything. Yes, for some it might be easier, for some it might be harder, but again, if someone doesn't want to buy something, they might be able to afford it 1,000 times over, and they're still not going to do it because they just don't want it, right? So it's not your job to figure out who's going to buy and to force that decision. but it is your job to make their experience exciting and fun, and to make sure that they really get a chance to try it on, whatever it is that you're selling, to really see themselves in it and to figure out for themselves, is that something for me or is it not? So also very important highlight. The next one is, this is a good one too. Come from a place of service in your offerings. So when sharing your offerings, it's very important to treat it as an act of service. And I'm going to explain what I mean by this. So let's use an example, like here now in this masterclass. Here I am, right? I'm doing this free masterclass. It's free, right? But there is no way you would be here spending your precious time if there was no value in it for you. If you read and it was just like something that had absolutely nothing to do with you, on the topics that absolutely made no sense to you and we weren't interested in, you wouldn't even be here. It's free, right? Okay, yeah, great. But I'm not interested, right? So you wouldn't be here if there wasn't any value in it for you. Now, can it be seemingly in your mind easier to be like, yeah, well, Katerina, this is a free masterclass. You know, it's easy to sell the free thing. Not so much. It has to still be valuable. But for some, like in our mind, it's a little easier to be like, yeah, I have no trouble selling, so to speak, a free masterclass, or selling a free Facebook Live, or selling a free post that I wrote, and published. Because no one's spending money, right? But they're spending time. And time is a finite resource. Unlike money. Money can be made. Money can be spent. Time, you can't get it back. You just spent it, right? So really there is no difference. So think of it this way. Every time you make a free offering, such as you just wrote a post, you wrote an email, you did a free masterclass, you did a free training, you put a story in your stories, or you published a video on YouTube, whatever it is, right? There's some value in it. That's no different from when you make an offer that costs something that is available for sale. It's still the same kind of service. Yes, there's money attached to it, but with the free thing, there's time attached to it. So it's the same thing. It really is. So anytime you show up in service, you just shared something that's free. It's no different from any time that you show up and you sell something. Because now you're offering something that it requires a different kind of exchange. It requires time and money, or it requires money because it's an item, right? But it's no different from anything of value that you share for free, because it's value. And if someone wants to buy it, for someone who sees it, for them it's valuable, you just did them a favor. How? Well, because now they know that there's something that they need or desire that you have, and they're going to get it from you. But you is not even important. They're going to get it. You did them a service because they're going to get the thing that they desire. That's value. That's an exchange of value. So, but how would that not be sad if they were looking for it and you had it, or you could do it with them, and you never offered it, and they never got it, and they were looking for it? That's a disservice. It is. Because if someone's looking for something and they never get access to it, it's a disservice to them, especially if you can do it and you have it available, right? So you gotta approach it from that standpoint. So showing up in service when selling is no different than showing up in service when doing something for free, such as writing or creating video, whatever, sharing your wisdom, teaching a lesson, doing card pulls. If you're a psychic intuitive like me or would like to explore that area, every time I pull these cards, these free card pulls, I'm showing up in service. Every time I offer a reading that costs money, I show up in service. Different people show up at different levels of investment. You showing up here for this free masterclass, it's free, but you wouldn't be spending your precious time here if it wasn't valuable for you. And that makes sense. Would I spend hours somewhere in a place that I didn't enjoy? No. I wouldn't even watch a Netflix show that I don't enjoy. Even though I pay for Netflix, I'm not going to enjoy the show that I don't like. I'm going to click it off, watch something else. So only the things that have value. So who are you talking to? Those who see value, right? Different people, different levels of value in exchange, but you're showing up in service when you're selling, especially when you're selling something that you actually believe in, something that you stand by, right? Okay, so we've covered the biggest ones. We have a couple more. Okay, don't ever sell for the sake of selling. If you ask me, if you ask someone else, maybe they'll say something different. For me, no. I'm not selling, I need to make $500 this week. So what can I sell to make $500? Don't do it like that. First of all, it's very hard to get any sales when you have a specific number in mind. Because you know what happens? People start feeling like they're like dollar signs to you. They start feeling this weird energy, like they don't even matter. And you're just seeing them as dollar signs. And no one likes to feel like that. So don't do it. Like I said, if you're just starting a business or considering starting a business, if you have a full-time job or you have some other, perhaps even multiple streams of revenue, that is a perfect place to start. If you're in business already and you're struggling in business, right? Maybe find some other streams of income. Or, perhaps sometimes you are going to have to borrow money, right? You have to realize it. But you have to make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to sell for the sake of selling, and you're not going to sell things that you don't believe in. Because, first of all, it really doesn't work. And second, it kind of ruins the reputation a bit. Because people start realizing, she doesn't really care. I'm just a number to her. And no one likes to feel like that. So don't put yourself in a place where you sell from just a place of like, I just need to sell something. Always sell from a place of service, which means you're doing something of value. You're sharing something of value. And you're allowing people to make their own decisions, okay? Do not sell yourself short, okay? If this is the huge thing. And even though I was trying to redeem myself during these first few years in business when I was basically working for free, not only did that not help, but it actually made it worse because, at that point I was doing my best to do good work. But, when people ask me how much do you charge, and I'd just be like, nothing, every time I did something like that, it took away from my confidence. It diminished my self-worth. Because every time I turned down like a sale or didn't charge anything or allowed someone to like walk all over me or like take me for granted or say they're going to pay and not pay, whatever, it was like affirming to the universe of like, I'm unworthy every time. And like I said, it is very expensive to heal that because it takes energy, it takes time, and it's not worth it. So if you're starting in business, don't start by working for free. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You can start by accepting donations or like saying, pay what you can. That's okay. Or as I've seen with spiritual services as well, or anything that's like intuitive or coaching based, making a pay scale where it's like, this is anywhere from say 100 to 200 and you just pay what you can, but it gives a person an idea that they can't pay under the scale. Okay. So if that might feel a little like there's less resistance around doing something like that, start there. But don't work for free. Okay. Don't sell yourself short. If you're killing yourself, spending hours and you're charging like $20. Yeah. If it feels like, what the hell am I doing? Then you're definitely undercharging, because if you're asking as soon as you start doing something in business, especially when you're in business for yourself and someone pays you for that thing, and the moment they pay you, you go like, I don't even want to do it. That's a sign that you're undercharging, because that means they paid you too little for you to actually enjoy doing the thing. And you should be charging a lot more, but you're afraid. But you know what I found also is that when you are afraid, that people are not going to buy from you, who you actually attract are people who buy, but they buy for wrong reasons. Or you sell yourself, your services under these like pretenses of who you're really not, because you're trying to appeal to the audience that's not really your audience. So, and this all, of course, can be refined with experience. But what I want you to remember from this conversation is don't sell yourself short, okay? It takes more courage to ask for the true price, yes. It takes more courage to actually speak to your audience instead of trying to appease and please everyone. Yes, but what you get from it is you get clients who are willing to pay, who are excited to pay you, who are excited for this exchange, who are in the right alignment with you. They're actually excited to work with you, pay you what you want to be paid. And this is the work that gives you joy, right? But when you attract a bunch of people who bought for the wrong reasons, such as low price, or such as you worded it in a way that sounds a little more like everyone else and it's not really you, you get people who don't really get you. And that's a powerful lesson, but it's not necessary. So be more courageous, ask for what you want to be paid. Speak to the people, I mean, like, write your posts, create your materials addressing as if you were talking to the person that you actually want to attract. Not everyone or not most people, but specifically whoever you would desire to work with, right? So that's something I had learned in this business, in this version of it, being a psychic and doing psychic coaching and teaching things, as well as doing public service and running masterclasses and showing up, sharing my experiences online. Who I talk to in my mind whenever I address the camera matters. And who I talk to in my mind is who you are, because you're here. Live replay doesn't matter. That's the kind of person that I wanted to be here, because this is valuable for you, okay? So this is my intention. What would it matter if I attracted 5,000 people who had who were not in alignment with this, and none of them showed up, right? And it, just because it's free, right? That makes no sense. So it's not about the numbers. It's about people who are the people that you actually want to have a conversation with, who you actually want to work with, right? So, okay, just 2 more points left. We have, this is reiterating the point we've already covered. Showing up is what you're responsible for. I'm going to talk about this a little more. And the purchase is the responsibility of the buyer. So the decision to purchase or not is the buyer, for sure. It's not your responsibility. Unless you have that high pressure mentality where it's like, I'm about to convert someone, I'm going to close them, I'm going to sell them even if they don't feel like buying. Don't do that. That's the old paradigm. That's a very masculine way of selling. Do you enjoy when people do that to you? If the answer is no, don't ever do that. So showing up is what you're responsible for. But here's a caveat to this. Showing up. Okay, let's talk about showing up. We're going to cover social media and authentic expression. Battery's low, so we're going to be wrapping up shortly here. So I'm going to save that for tomorrow. But for tonight, showing up in sales means I go to your profile right now and I scroll and I see what you're selling. And there's like not just one mention that you have to really look for, but it's like constant. A lot of people have trouble with that. They say, well, what if I have like 3 different sales posts for different things that I'm doing throughout the day? Wouldn't that be too much? For whom? For the person who isn't interested? Yeah, they probably didn't even read your post, so they didn't even notice, right? For the people who are interested, they definitely did read your post, and maybe they already sent you a DM, or maybe they're thinking about it. For those people, that post was valuable. And for one type of person, the first one was. For another person, it was the third one. And for yet another person, it was all 3, because they're interested in all of the 3 things you talked about. So showing up in sales means taking action, means like actually selling. Like not like you mentioned once a month in, I don't know, September that you have a new program and no one bought and you've never talked about it again. That's not showing up. Okay, that's no one's going to see that post because now it's in September and we're headed towards the end of October. So how would anyone find out? So it has to be consistent, okay? I'm not saying pushy. I'm not saying annoying in the sense that you're writing the same thing over and over again. So you have to be creative. You have to talk about different things. You have to cover different kind of approaches as to why this service or this product might be of value for the person who is already looking for it. But you have to be consistent. And this is what I say this is what I mean when I say there are times in my life when I don't sell. Meaning you go to my page, you scroll through my posts, and all of my posts, whether they be live video or a post or whatever, picture, writing, my stories, right? There is nothing that I'm selling. I'm not selling anything. I'm not even talking about it necessarily. I'm just sharing my life experiences, right? That happens. But right now, if you go to my page and you scroll through it, right now I am selling. I have a special reading that I've been promoting this week, and I'm promoting also this masterclass. So even though it's free, it is a purchase because it requires an investment of time. And I don't want just anyone to sign up for it. I want the people that can actually benefit from it to sign up for it. So you will see all of my posts basically from the last few days. They're talking either about the readings that I have available or this masterclass. So this is what I mean. If you want an example, check it out. And I'm talking about it in different ways. And some posts Facebook doesn't like. So sometimes when you're selling something and you're using your personal profile to do so, which I think is the only way that works on Facebook. I think that business pages don't really get any reach almost. Groups can be pretty powerful, but again, you have to kind of post as yourself. So you have to show up, okay? And if you, again, I just want to reiterate that if you had one sales post the entire week and you posted a total of like 20 times that week and only once did you try to sell something or let people know that there's something that they can buy and no one bought, I don't think it qualifies as showing up. Because with Facebook algorithms and just people's attention span in general, posts live an average 1 day on Facebook. So if you didn't at least mention it once a day, whoever saw it in that 1 day that's it. No one else is going to see it. So you have to, and this is something that I learned when I kind of started doing, practicing the psychic work and selling readings. I was studying with a mentor, a coach, and she told me, I was like, I have this, I'm so excited about my offers. I have this thing, I have that thing, and I have all these things, but no one's really buying. And she was like, hold on 1 second. And she went and she looked at my social media. She was like, I don't see you selling. She's like, what is it that you're, like, where can someone find out what it is that you're selling? And I was like, well, I wrote about it, 3 weeks ago. She's like, yeah, no, I can't see that. I don't even know where to look for that post. No one knows what it is that you're selling. You're a good writer. You have interesting things to share, but no one knows what it is that you're selling. So how are you expecting people to buy, right? You can't. So you have to show up, but it's not your responsibility as to how many people will buy or who will and who won't. You can't decide that. You have to give them full authority, full power and freedom to make their own choices and make their own purchases or not. But it is your responsibility to show up. And by show up, I don't mean once a day or once a week or once a month. I mean like consistently, several times a day. You don't have to be pushy. You don't have to be like a genius, write new, novel every time you write a post or every time you go live for like 3 hours. No, it can just be a quick little reminder. It can be a stories update. It can be a post. It can be a video, whatever it is. But social media is free and you get to promote your business for free. That's something that our ancestors did not have at their disposal, at their fingertips. So this is a powerful tool. We're going to get into social media more tomorrow, but it is your responsibility to show up. I'm just going to say it for a millionth time. And by show up, I mean a lot, consistently, okay? And if you're worried about people who are going to get annoyed, these are probably not the people who are going to buy anyway. If someone says, you know what, you used to write these posts about family and your cats, and now you're selling every day, I don't like you anymore. That's probably your Aunt Carol that's a little annoyed that you're starting a business, but regardless, is she your customer? No. Can she still see some photos of cats every now and then? Yes, she can. Is she going to ever buy anything from you? Probably not. So don't let an opinion of someone who is not your customer deter you from speaking to your customers consistently on an ongoing basis. We're getting to the final point here. This is a big one. Always show up from a place of more. And by more, I mean, don't show up from a place of lack. You know, if you're talking about an offering and that no one has purchased, and all you can think about how no one has purchased and no one probably will, that energy can be felt. It's not something that you may be right about, but that can be felt by people who read it. So if you're talking about an offer that you're not sure is even going to work, people can feel that. If you're talking about, you know, whatever opportunity to work with you, and you're saying, I'm so excited, but in reality, you're thinking, you know, like, someone better buy because I got to pay my bills. And if no one does, blah, blah, blah. And you're not really excited. And you don't even care, right? You're just concerned about yourself. That can be felt. So don't show up from lack. If you feel lack, if you're feeling stressed out, if you're feeling tired, annoyed, whatever, depleted, desperate, get your nervous system first. You know, get to a place where you are excited. Get to a place where you are peaceful, at least, where you're at least not concerned, where you're not in this panic mode, this crisis mode, this survival mode. Because when you sell from this crisis, panic, survival mode, first all people can hear it. Second, it's very unlikely that anyone will buy. And if you do attract a client by some means, when you feel like that, and that's all you feel, that's your energy, and you do attract a client, don't be surprised if the client is going to be also in that panic mode where they're going to be like, I paid this much. How much? Oh, whatever. You said this and I said this and I think I needed more and I don't think whatever. Like, that's not the client that you want to work with, but that's who you will attract. The clients that you attract match the vibration that you come from. Okay. So this concludes tonight's training. I am about to spend about the next 5 to 10 minutes, and I want to cover some of the things that I have coming up that are paid opportunities to work with me. So if you are complete, if this is all that you came here for, this training on sales is now complete. So if you've enjoyed it, thank you. Please let me know. Let me know if you have any questions. I will either address them on the Q&A or I'll comment in response to you if it's a smaller question. If not, we will have a Q&A at the end of this masterclass. So if you want to wait until then, you can. And I'm very excited for tomorrow's training, which is going to be at the same time, 8 p.m. EST. And we're getting into social media. So we kind of touched on some of the topics about social media, about showing up online. So tomorrow we're going to dive even deeper into this. Okay, so on this note, first of all, I want to talk to you about an opportunity to do some private coaching with me. So private coaching, I think, is something where you really need to, like for me, if I ever work with mentors one-on-one for an extended period of time, which I currently am, and it's a pretty high ticket investment. But in order to get there, I really needed to first experience the energy of the mentor. I needed to find out if this is my mentor or not, okay? And I don't think there's a way to do that until you work with someone. So I don't do like free consults. I don't do like these sessions. It's just like, it's because I give so much during any kind of private coaching call scenarios that it's just not in alignment. So what I have instead for kind of to determine if we're a good match for private coaching, and also to experience private coaching with me for a limited time, is I have this opportunity to work with me for an hour, one-on-one session, 1 hour, which is recorded. It's conducted via Zoom, so you can see my face, I can see yours, or if you don't want to be seen, that's fine. But you can see my face. Also, I use cards, obviously, in my psychic coaching practice. So I pull different cards, so you can also see the images. It's important for me to have that video component. The hour call via Zoom, which is recorded, so you get to keep the call and like watch it as many times as you need. What's also included is 10 days of Voxer coaching, meaning we have our call first. We outline some of the things that we can work on together. In my private coaching, I don't really niche myself into like a very specific small area, but I do generally work with developing psychic abilities, building your own business, lifestyle, personal development. So basically all the areas of your life, because usually your business, your personal life, where you are in your journey, it all is, you can't really separate it into these categories and really single them out, because it's usually, they kind of reflect each other. So, that's why I work with people on all areas of their life, but mostly I work on this genuine understanding of what is going on, what are the lessons that are currently available on your life's journey, and how to integrate them, and how to rapidly grow, evolve, how to reach whatever it is that you're trying to manifest with minimum resistance. And we use a variety of tools. So basically, this private coaching opportunity is 1 hour Zoom call. It is 10 days of Voxer access following that Zoom call. Voxer is a messenger app. So what happens is you message me, whether it's a question or something you want to work on, a card you want to pull, anything. And several times a day I check Voxer, and I will reach out and get back to you. And it depends on really the level that we're working on. So for some Voxer chats, I tap in every few days, but for this one, it's like a 10-day intensive. So for 10 days, we work pretty intensively over Voxer, and I check several times a day. So we have this kind of ongoing conversation back and forth. And Voxer is easy to use too, because it allows you to use voice. And another thing that's included is access to my ongoing psychic development container, which is called Psychic Academy. And there we talk about different areas of extrasensory abilities, how to develop them, how to develop your channeling gifts, your mediumship gifts, how to understand certain esoteric phenomena, and how to basically amplify your natural abilities, and how to develop some of the abilities that you might not naturally be so familiar with, but maybe you're just curious and you would like to learn. So it's a great ongoing container. It's lifetime access, and there are new modules being released, sometimes weekly, sometimes every couple weeks, but it's something that just kind of keeps going. And you can you have access to all the previous modules and all the modules that continuously emerge. So all of that together, 1 hour call, 10 days on Voxer, and access to Psychic Academy is $555. So this is a really great place to start. If it happens that we do really enjoy working with each other, and it's something that is aligned, something that's a match, following this experience, I have options to go into longer term coaching with me. But that's a great place to start. And a few months ago, in just making decisions in my business, I have come to a conclusion that I don't take any long-term private coaching clients without an experience like this, because it's very important to know that our energy is aligned, and that we are a good match, and that I'm a good mentor for you, and that I can give you the results that you're looking for. And this experience is a great way to find out. So if that's something that you would like to do, you can message me, and the same will apply to all the things that I'm going to talk about today. So the other thing that I'm going to talk about here briefly, I'm going to go into more detail about tomorrow as we cover social media, is I have something that's called Psychic Coach Vault. So this is a collection of all the programs that I've run so far, which are Psychic Businesswoman. It's a program about energetics. There are total 9 modules that teach you how to manage the energy of business, how to manage your energy as an intuitive, as an empath, as a psychic, and how to operate a business in that energy as a psychic without, really splitting into that very masculine, logical way and then being very kind of feminine, intuitive otherwise. How to blend these together, how to run a successful business without getting overwhelmed, and how to really manage your energy in running a business, and how to amplify certain types of energy to draw in sales, to draw in clients, to magnetize results, and how to also manage your energy around the things that might not be so conducive in your business, how to manage disappointment, how to manage challenges, right? How to alchemize certain events that seem like universe is against you, and how to turn them around and use them to your advantage. So Psychic Businesswoman is included. Channel Mentor Coach is another program that's included. Basically, it goes over the differences between channeling, which is something I do in my business, mentorship, which is also something that I do, and that's where I teach what I know, or I teach the tools and allow my students and my clients to take these tools, learn from me, but use them in a way that works for them. And coach, of course, coaching is also something that I do, but to me, it's the difference of getting a person from point A to point B, whereas mentorship is more kind of educational, and channeling is channeling. So I teach all three in this program. If you would like to be in this industry and you would like to run a business that's not like mine necessarily, but has similar components, like you can see yourself doing it in your own way, this is a very useful program, and it allows you to learn how to become a mentor, how to become a coach, how to become a confident channeler and use these gifts in your business. So this is also really great. Another one that's included is Psychic Academy, which I just discussed. It's an ongoing container that teaches you how to develop your psychic abilities, and how to understand different types of phenomena, and how to explore new areas with your intuition. And another thing that, like I said, I will talk more about tomorrow, I'm going to talk about a little bit today, is Yourself Unfiltered. This is a new program that I'm releasing sometime in mid-November. I'm finalizing the dates, but this is going to be my first program on specifically sales and social media. So if you've enjoyed this conversation tonight, this is the program that you're gonna very much enjoy. Again, another conversation within this range that we're gonna have is tomorrow about social media, about authentic expression. But Yourself Unfiltered is going to teach you how to build a business online using just social media, which is free to use, using very simple to know tools that are very confusing, such as complicated payment platforms or complicated websites. I don't have a website. This is my website. When someone asks me, what's your website? I'm like, my Facebook profile. I don't have a website. I use a payment processor for payment plans, but it's very simple. I mostly use PayPal. Like, you can definitely build a successful business with just these tools. And so far in 2021, my business has taken off and has surpassed by far, like 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the amount of volume I used to do in a year, in often a month. So this program, Yourself Unfiltered, is going to be incredible for sales and social media. It's also included in the Psychic Coach Vault. So the Psychic Coach Vault is 4,444. It includes a total of 4 programs. The total value of it is about 7,000. So it's a great opportunity to learn from me from all the courses that I have run that pertain to business and building a business. And the new program that's included is going to be amazing. It's going to come out mid-November, like I said. But in the meanwhile, you can catch up on all the previous courses and make sure that you have an understanding and start applying the principles that I teach in these containers. So there is a payment plan available. I do something that I call custom payment plan custom payment plans, which is basically very individual to you, your schedule, what your financial situation looks like, and the length of time that you want to pay over. So it's very individual. So if you would like to explore these options, feel free to send me a message. It's also obviously painful option available. And then finally, for tonight, I want to also mention the Yourself and Unfiltered program by itself is going to be a 222, okay? Not 222, 2,222. So the price that it's going to have when it's actually live, when it's actually launched, is going to be $4,444. So if you're just interested in that one, Yourself Unfiltered, conversations about sales, social media, we're going to build this. Actually, this container is something that is a what am I looking for? It's a hybrid. That's the word. A hybrid, because it's going to include 4 private coaching calls with me. So 4 1-hour private coaching calls, throughout which we will develop your sales offerings. So we're actually going to design what it is that you're going to sell in your business. We're going to design some of the ways that you can share on social media. So some of the post structures, some of the social tools that you can always use, like a social strategy. So you don't have to necessarily like come up with it every time. The content is going to be different, but you will always know the criteria, like the ratio of what to use in the post, what to mention, and how to present it. It's all very individual. There is no cookie cutter formula for this type of stuff. And I've worked with people who presented a cookie cutter formula, and it has never worked for me. And I don't think it works for anyone else. I think it maybe works for the person teaching it, but it has to be individual. So the only reason, or the only way to really develop these tools individually that I see, is to work one-on-one with you, so we can understand your style, so we can understand the nature of your business, your offerings, your special gifts, your special abilities, how you like to share, what kind of content you like to create most, and how does your inspiration work, what kind of cycles are you on in your business, in your personal life, what other things do you have going on, what kind of time do you want to be spending on your business, and how personal do you want to get? Like, do you want to be very hands-on? Do you want to be kind of in the background and sell something a little more passively? It's all very individual. It's all very different for different people. So that's why this program is going to be, when it's launched, it's going to be $4,444, because it includes a pretty significant private coaching component to it. And of course, it's going to be I'm finalizing that as well, 6 to 8 weeks of trainings in a group environment, private sessions to actually design and develop your business and your structure and the plan for your content and your offerings. So this option, as I mentioned, is $2,222 right now, which is about half the price that it's going to be when it's launched. It is included in the Psychic Coach Vault, which is $4,444. That program is included in it. Okay, along with 3 other ones. On this note, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited that you got to attend this training. We have so much ahead of us. I'm really looking forward to the training we're having tomorrow night. So I hope to see you there. And if you watch this entire training on replay, let me know by saying #replay so I can say hello to you and welcome you here. All right, on this note, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will see you tomorrow for day 2. All right, bye.